All right, and welcome back to the forecast card. Pretty average day. Slightly green, so better than going red. 101 on the locks. Clemson, pretty sweat free. Providence, uh, decent. They played decently well. They just couldn't hit their shots. They were pretty competitive in terms of rebounding and turnovers. Ole Miss, Oklahoma just shot insanely well. 53% from the field. They shot 20 for 22 on their free throws. They shot 45% from for 3 point line. Ole Miss shot 33% from three, uh, missed 8 free throws to Oklahoma's two. They shot 50%, which is not that bad, but they couldn't take advantage of all of the Oklahoma turnovers like I would have hoped for. Georgia Tech pretty much sweat free. They ended up dominating that game by like 20 points. TCU the lock pretty much sweat free. You could argue got a tiny bit sweaty, but they pretty much dominating that game the entire way, and that's with shooting 30% from three and 60% from the free throw line. So that game could have been even a lot easier. Syracuse, this would be the back door of the day. They're down three with the ball. If they just miss the three, we cover. They drain the three, it goes to overtime. They lose by I think like six or something. So pretty frustrating game. St. Francis, this is why I'm not that upset about Syracuse. St. Francis, game goes to overtime and St. Francis wins by 9. So that one probably shouldn't cover, so you could argue that's kind of balanced out. Minnesota won outright, pretty sweat free. William and Mary, that game ended up being so close. I can't believe they lost back to back home games after going flawless on the season, but um, yeah, they lose to basically a buzzer beater, walk off floater instead of sending the game to overtime, where they had I would say a pretty good chance. Typically, home teams play well better at in overtime. Colorado State money line again, pretty sweat free. That was probably the easiest bet of my day. They dominated the entire time. Texas, pathetic, pathetic, pathetic. I honestly really loved this one for Texas. You had Texas coming off 2 road losses, coming back home. You had Georgia coming off a massive letdown spot after playing Florida, traveling 900 miles to play this Texas team that's pissed off. Where the Texas team that plays really well at home, Georgia that plays terribly on the road, but Georgia just shot way too well. Texas just played a terrible game. Not much to say. UT Martin, pathetic. They lost outright. Mercer got a bit sweaty, but I think they ended up winning that game pretty comfortably by like 19 or something. Sam Houston, they just got shit on by Louisiana Tech. They just couldn't hit their threes, which is kind of the entire bread and butter of this team. So Fresno State, pretty solid. They are keeping it pretty close and winning most of that game. They only lose, I think, by 3. That was pretty sweat free. Florida, sweat free. West Virginia felt really good for the first like 15 minutes, and then BYU started to hit their threes, and West Virginia continued to be playing shitty. So they ended up losing this game by like 21. Seattle, just a bad first half. Not much to say. They played much better in the second half. Got within 3, but they missed the tying 3 at the end of the game. So we had a shot to end up winning that, even though they were down like 15 at half or something. Just a pathetic home start to them. And Gonzaga won by 20, so that was pretty sweat free. So overall, not the worst day, not the best day. Couple shitters, couple sweat frees. Typical when you're betting, 19 games on a day. But anyway, the slate for today, I don't love it. They're not going to be a lock. I'm not going to force locks unless I actually really like a side on a game. All these games are kind of I'm probably going to go light on the slate, but these are my 5 favorite games for tomorrow. All right, let's get into the first game. We have Wisconsin heading on the road to play Michigan State. Both these teams obviously are very elite. They've both been playing incredibly well, 22-6, 23-5. But I like Wisconsin on the road here. Obviously, both these teams are elite. Especially Michigan State is more of a defensive team. Wisconsin more of an offensive team. So it's going to be kind of a clash of styles here. Um, but I don't know. I think the one thing that Wisconsin defends really poorly is the three, and that's a shot that Michigan State really doesn't take at all. They're not a very good 3-point shooting team. They kind of rely on getting points off the paint and getting their own rebounds. And I don't know if they're going to have that much success here. Michigan State also fouls a lot more. And as everyone knows, Wisconsin, best free throw shooting team in the country. They average 85% from the line. Michigan State also a very elite free throw shooting team, but Wisconsin doesn't foul nearly as often. That being said, Michigan State typically does get to the line more often, so it might kind of balance out overall, where both these teams are going to have probably equal amount of chances at the line. But still, 4% points in free throw shooting adds up pretty quickly if there's going to be a lot of free throws. Again, I also think Wisconsin is a deeper team here. In the event that Michigan State does have some foul trouble early, or Wisconsin does, I think Wisconsin has a better bench to kind of fill in their role players. But again, this is going to be a team who really knows what's going to happen. You have top 10 offense versus top 10 defense, and top 20 offense versus top 20 defense. It's going to be interesting. Both teams don't turn the ball over. Both teams are really good on their own boards. They don't give up a lot of offensive boards. I think this is going to be a full-on free throw shooting game. Probably going to be relatively low scoring until they get to bonus. But again, the biggest reason I like this game, Michigan State, they're due for a lot of regression. They've been playing a little bit too well, in my opinion. As home favorites, they're 9-5. As on the road team, Wisconsin, they're 7-2 against the spread. They've been really, really good on the road. Michigan State on the other side, at home, sure they're good as home favorites, but they'll be much, much better as a road team this year, being 6-2 against the spread. Again, I can see why people would take Michigan State here because they have been beating teams by this number pretty comfortably. They have 4 really, really impressive wins in a row: Illinois, Purdue, Michigan, Maryland. Wisconsin has some decent wins. They have Purdue, Illinois as well. Iowa, Indiana, Northwestern. And they're coming off a tough loss to Oregon and then a big win over Washington. But in this game, they're going to have 1 extra day to prepare, 1 extra day of rest, where they're going to be traveling to play Michigan State. Not a very far travel spot, only 250 miles. Both these teams are Michigan State 3-1 in their last 4 games at home. Wisconsin 3-1 in their last 3 games on the road. Wisconsin head-to-head last year won both of these matchups. I think they are a team that is built a bit differently that can kind of handle this Michigan State grittiness. I do truly like this spot here for Wisconsin. I think they have a chance to win outright, but I think this game is going to be so close down to the wire that Wisconsin's free throw shooting ends up being the difference here. If Michigan State wins, I don't see it being by more than 4.5 points. So give me Wisconsin here on the road. All right, heading on to game number 2, we have Northern Iowa heading on the road to play Bradley. Now, these two teams already played, and there could be a revenge spot here for Bradley at home. But I think this game has too much true value, where I think both teams are going to be playing equally as hard, and so I don't think revenge matters nearly as much. Both these teams are tied, basically in the division, and whoever wins this game basically will move up to the 2nd seed, and that has some pretty significant consequences in the conference tournament. And I think in this Missouri Valley League, these are probably 2 of the favorites to win it all, and this will be a nice early showing to see who is the better team. Now Bradley, they are on paper the better team if you look at their record, but they're the number 1 team in college basketball on multiple models that I look at when it comes to regressional analysis, and this means Bradley just doesn't shoot high quality shots. Like, they have the 5th best 3-point shooting percentage in college basketball, but statistics suggest that they should be much lower in basically all of their shooting, and Northern Iowa plays just around where they should be playing. So Northern Iowa team already beat this team by 14. Bradley's due for regression naturally. Both these teams are going to be playing hard for that 2nd seed. I don't see a world where a full swing of 18 points can happen between these two teams. If you look at their last matchup, it was pretty even for most of the things. Bradley didn't. You could argue they didn't shoot as well from 3. They only shot 38% when they averaged 40%. But again, you could argue that's kind of where they should be. Northern Iowa didn't shoot very well, or shot maybe arguably a little bit too well from 3. They shot 45%. But again, that's not really a shot that they take too often. Bradley fouled them. They got 24 free throws. They shot 48% from the field. But the biggest thing is Bradley had 14 turnovers. And when I watched this Bradley team play, I could see why they turned the ball over. It's just kind of the way that they play. If they pass it so many times to try to find a good look from 3, and a lot of times it's very predictable. And I think Northern Iowa's going to read into that. Bradley's going to struggle if they can't hit their 3s. Obviously, you could argue that Bradley is going to be playing a bit harder at the home floor. They might drain a lot more 3s. But the fact that this game has more consequences, I do think that Northern Iowa is gonna try their best to defend. They're obviously the much better defensive team. If you look at both of these teams' most recent games, yes, Bradley has won 5 of their last 6, but even in those games, they gave up 83 points, 82, 59, 64, 74, 80, 83, 93. They gave up a lot of points. On the other side, this Northern Iowa team, 52, 64, 75, 67, 73, 65, 61, 69, 66, 50. Like they hold teams to a much lower point total. Obviously, when these two teams played, Bradley really couldn't get a lot of shots off. So I think Northern Iowa is just a more well-rounded team here. The fact that they're playing for something means I don't think the revenge spot means nearly as much. It's not very significant of a travel spot. Arguably, Bradley's going to be traveling just as much in a bit more awkward of a schedule, where they went home, away, back home. And when Northern Iowa had a bit more of a normal schedule, coming off 2 home games, now they're traveling only about 200 miles. So, yeah, give me Northern Iowa here. I think this game's going to be really, really close the entire way, and I like Northern Iowa here in my back pocket with the team that's going to have a lot more free points and free throws and offensive boards. So, yeah, give me Northern Iowa plus 3.5. All right, heading on to game number 3, we have Fairfield heading on the road to play Sacred Heart. Now, these two teams already played. Sacred Heart on the road, won by 6. I just think this is a solid spot for Sacred Heart, just in general. This has been an awkward, end of a season for Fairfield, just traveling-wise. Starting on February 8th, they were at home, went on the road, went home, road, home. Now they're going on the road again with only 1 day's rest. Sacred Heart gets to stay home in this game after a pretty solid win over a Marist team. I think this is a spot here where they're just going to be a lot more comfortable. Fairfield's probably exhausted, hopping on and off of buses, potentially planes. Sacred Heart getting to kind of be playing a much more normal schedule. 2 home games, 2 road games. Now they're going to play 2 home games again against a team that they've already beaten. If you look at their power ratings here, this is a Sacred Heart team, top 100 home advantage in college basketball. Significantly better at home. Fairfield have been playing worse on the road. They have not been a good team, really at all. They've been playing slightly better as of lately, but they're still a bad team. And I don't see a world here where Sacred Heart will have too much of a problem against Fairfield. As a home team, Sacred Heart, they're only 6-6 against the spread, but Fairfield 4-8 against the spread, 3-8 as road dogs. And after a win, they're only 2-7 against the spread, and now they just had 2 wins. Sacred Heart, coming off wins, they're 7-5 after a win. Definitely have more of a momentum advantage. Now, if you look at what these two teams do well, Sacred Heart, they're a team that shoots a lot of threes. Fairfield, really bad at defending the 3. I think Sacred Heart's going to find some success there. Sacred Heart's a pretty okay team on the offensive glass. They'll find some success. Fairfield does take care of the ball. It's one place where Sacred Heart may get fewer points than normal. But I think in general, Sacred Heart's over almost 100 ranking points above them offensively. I think they're going to have a lot more success here in general on the offensive glass and just normal in shooting. Fairfield, they're a team that shoots a lot of mid-range shots. They probably will have some success on the offensive glass. Maybe get some points off of steals here. They shoot a lot. They're a team that hucks up a lot of shots, but I just don't know. I think Sacred Heart's been the better team all year. They play much better at home. Statistically, they're a much just better team in general. There's really not much to say in this game. Both teams equal in regression. There's no big, not like Fairfield's been playing poorly. I just think they're coming in here in an awkward spot. I think this is going to be Sacred Heart's very last home game. I think they're going to show up for their fans here. They have to head off onto the road to play 2 more, arguably some tough road games against Iona and Manhattan, some teams that aren't really pushovers. That's how they're going to have to finish off their year. Fairfield, on the other hand, this is going to be their first game of, they're going to finish their last game at home. But I would say this is just an awkward spot for them. Yes, there is a revenge angle, you could argue, but I think Sacred Heart's just a more well-rounded team, and I think they beat up on this Fairfield team. All right, heading on to game number 4, we have Illinois heading on the road to play Michigan. This is a weird game because I think Michigan is eventually due to get right, but I really like this Illinois team. and I think they match up decently well here against this really struggling Michigan squad. It really has looked kind of lost at times. Not really sure what their identity is. Um, yes, they're coming off of wins over Rutgers and Nebraska, but they weren't that impressive. They're both a 3-point win and a 2-point win. Um, they just haven't been putting up that many points. That's been their problem. Illinois on the other side, they had a nice get right spot here against Iowa. They had a really tough game against Duke. They had a really rough patch where they got blown out 3 times in a row. But I think they're back here. They're gonna have 2 extra days of rest and time for planning against this Michigan team. Um, Obviously, it's a travel spot, but I'm not too concerned in this spot. Illinois has been overall the better team. Michigan plays worse at home. Obviously, Illinois in the last 5 have been playing a little bit worse. But again, I just think this Michigan team is due for a metric ton of regression. And I don't think they're that much better than an Illinois team. The reason why I love Illinois in general is they're a team that doesn't specialize really in anything. They shoot up basically everything. I think they're a pretty balanced offense. They'll find some success in the paint. They'll find some success from 3. They'll get to line a little bit. On the other side, they kind of argue they're more of a defensive team. Michigan, they shoot almost all of their shots from 3 and in the paint, and these are spots where Illinois defends well, top 40 in both. They're also top 10 in mid-range. They won't allow you to get to line much. They don't give you offensive boards. They don't turn the ball over. Yeah, I just think Illinois here is the better team. I'm probably going to even sprinkle the money line here, but this regression has to hit Michigan eventually, and I think it is to end off the year. I think this game means more for Illinois. They basically dominated this matchup they've won the last 8 games against Michigan. I don't think that changes. Give me Illinois here as the road dog. Okay, heading on to game number 5, we have North Florida versus Austin Peay in the first round of the in-conference tournament. These 2 teams have already faced each other, where Austin Peay won by 8 on a I don't think it was a neutral court. I believe North Florida was actually at home in this game. But that was just like if you look at the box score of that game, it truly makes no sense. I didn't watch it, but I'm very curious at what the hell happened. Because when you really look into it, North Florida, they're a team that shoots a lot of threes. Like over 50% of their shots come from 3. And Austin Peay is not really a team that shoots that many threes. But in this game, they both shot the same amount of threes, which was odd. They both shot 17 threes. Austin Peay, despite not being really that known as a 3-point shooting team, shot it better than North Florida. But the weird part here is the free throw shooting. Austin Peay shot 39 free throws. North Florida shot 31. Rebounding, there was no significant edge. Turnovers were about equal. But overall, Austin Peay, they shot 52% from the field, which is, I think, a little bit too good for them. They're a team that averages around 40%. North Florida normally shoots 43%. They shot pretty solid 46%. But I think that just means the regression here is going to come for Austin Peay. I think North Florida knows that they play better on the road, and this neutral floor, I think it's going to be a good experience for them. I think they're objectively the better team here offensively. They're a way more consistent team. You really don't know what you're going to get from Austin Peay. North Florida is going to be in a revenge spot here. It's very rare that you could put up 89 points and not win the game. I don't think Austin Peay could put up 63 points and a half again. That was like anomaly shooting. North Florida, better team in general. Better team on the road. They shoot a ton more shots. They're an extremely fast-paced team. I think that's going to be annoying for Austin Peay. I'm gonna rock with UNF here. It's hard to beat the same team twice, and I think they had to get arguably really lucky to beat them the first time. I'm pretty excited for this game just because it's the first tournament game. I'm definitely gonna be watching it because stakes are obviously much higher. But when you dig a little bit deeper here, obviously North Florida, they actually haven't played a neutral court game this year, so it's not really a stat that you can look at. But as the away team, which you could argue is kind of weird, they're 9-8 against the spread. Peay is 6-10 against the spread. both these teams. We have North Florida coming off 2 losses, tough ones. They put up 82 and 81 in losses. Obviously, they're not a great defensive team, but Austin Peay hasn't been playing well either. They just lost by 3 points to a really bad West Georgia team, and that can't be good for your confidence. Both these teams are going to have a lot of time to prepare for this game, and I truly believe that because Austin Peay had such an anomaly win, where they shot like insanely well from the free throw line, and shot better from 3 than North Florida did, despite having, uh, a significantly worse, by about 3 percentage points in 3-point percentage. Uh, and North Florida technically has a better 3-point defense as well.
Yeah.
I think North Florida is going to shoot 45% from 3 this game. I think they end up winning this game, scoring like 100 points. You could probably take the over as well. I think it's going to be a similar score total. But I really do like North Florida here to bounce back and take the win over PA. And to wrap us up, we have 4 leans. For some reason, leans have been doing well, but I feel like if I put them as official, they won't be doing well. FAU, I just think they're the way better team than USF. They beat the better team. They're going to find a lot of success from 3. They're going to get free throws. As long as they don't turn the ball over too much, I think they dominate this game. Again, Indiana State, I just can't really touch this game because Southern Illinois is playing really well, but Indiana State's the way more consistent team. I think if they can find some success from the free throw line, make some threes, they can easily win this game in a revenge spot. Liberty is they're just a really good team. You never really know what you're going to get with them. They're either going to win by 1 or they're going to win by 20. Kennesaw, they're just one of those road teams that play really well. They could always just steal a win here, but I think Liberty dominates from 3, and they get a ton of turnovers here in this conference UNCAA matchup. And finally, Murray State, kind of just a regression play. I'm not particularly a big fan of Murray State, but I do think both these teams are pretty equal. Murray State is due for some regression. The better road team, way better defensive team, and it's harder to beat the same team twice. So give me Murray State in that game. Anyway, those are the 5 games that I bet. I basically just bet a half unit on all of them. Nothing crazy. Don't love any of these games today. You check the spreadsheet. Maybe I end up betting something tomorrow if something changes. But yeah, really, really light day. Don't go too crazy on it. Anyways, cheers.